was raining a little bit on that parade today, and it's still raining a little bit now.
It's kind of stalled, actually. It's been sitting over the city and the peninsula, so the totals are a little high. Looked like we'd get about 1/4 inch of rain yesterday. We've already gotten about 3/10 in the city. It's been variable. I showed you those totals at the top of the newscast, and we'll go over that again briefly, but the real focus is tomorrow. So I'm going to start out first and foremost with the 7-day forecast, just to kind of highlight our first alert day tomorrow. We'll come back to the 7-day again in a bit because there's a lot more on here to look at. But the first alert forecast tomorrow is where I want to start, because that system right there, see that little curlicue? That's going to develop into a fairly strong cold front when it moves across the Bay Area tomorrow. And it will have a lot in common with today, except it's going to be more intense. And it's the intensity that could provide us with some isolated thunderstorms and some brief downpours and some gusty winds as this line right here marches its way across the bay. So it starts tomorrow morning in the North Bay, 7 o'clock hour. By the time we've gotten to about noon, 1 o'clock, it's coming right across the heart of the bay. That's actually a little earlier than that. It's about 10 a.m. Now that looks more impressive than what we saw today. It's got a little more organization to it, and it's going to be able to provide a little bit more of a punch to it. And that's the main reason why tomorrow's a first alert day, is for the possibility of that line. It will clear the South Bay by the time we get to the early afternoon. And while that is going to be the end of that phase, it's not the end of this system. Once we get past like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock tomorrow, we then get into the next phase of this, which is isolated, pop-up, scattered, hit-and-miss showers. Occasional thunderstorms will come through with those too. Not as numerous as what we'll likely see with that cold front when it comes through for the first part of tomorrow. Tuesday, it's going to be hard to tell when one system ends and the next one begins, but this is the next system. You can kind of tell it's a little more widespread. The Tuesday system will have isolated showers, snow level down to around 2,500 feet, which is nothing like what we saw on Friday. I'll show you a comparison on that in 1 second. But it's going to keep the chance for showers going pretty much all the way through Tuesday, and we don't turn this off until we get to right about Wednesday morning. And then we'll be done by the time we get to Wednesday. If we look at the rainfall totals in general, we can come away with an idea of somewhere between 1/2 inch and 2 inches of rain. But what's really going to depend is what the intensity of that initial line is with those thunderstorms, because you can get some brief downpours in that line first half of the day tomorrow. And if you get one of those right over you, that could even lead to some minor localized roadway flooding. But this is in no way the kind of storm that we saw in January where it was widespread flooding concerns. This is not that kind of rain. It's going to be a lot more short-lived. And since snow is on the mind so much after what we just went through, here's the comparison. These next two storms, actually the three of them, today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, which is storm number 3, none of them are as cold as what we had on Thursday and Friday. They will all deliver more snow to the peaks, but the difference here is snow level gets down to around 2,500 feet in elevation. And if we do the comparison on here, the big impact was on Highway 17 going over the summit between Los Gatos and Santa Cruz. That's not going to get snowed on here because at 2,500 feet, the snow level is going to be noticeably higher. We'll get snow on the peaks, and you can see that shows up across much of the bay, and it's not a lot, but it'll be enough that it's worth mentioning. It's a lot more snow in the Sierra. Think about that with snow level down to 2,000 feet. These next series of storms are going to deliver feet upon feet of new snow. We're fast approaching one of the snowiest winters on record at the Central Sierra Snow Lab. As far as morning lows go, it's still going to be cold tomorrow. We'll go down to freezing for some locations. Santa Rosa, you'll get down to 31. It'll be mid-30s just about everywhere else. When we look at daytime highs tomorrow, we'll warm up to right around 50 in general for everybody. And now we go back to that 7-day forecast. So we've talked about why we've got a first alert day here. Tuesday's still going to have its items. It just doesn't look as intense, but we're going to monitor Tuesday. And if the conditions come together in a more impressive way, we'll have updates on that. Check in with Jessica and Paul tomorrow. They'll have that. We're going to get a break on Thursday and Friday, and then another system is coming in for next week, and we'll